Oh, it's on. But my mic is still down here. Yep. Weather mic. Right now on the National Weather Desk, an atmospheric river is about to bring heavy rain, snow, and wind to the Pacific coast. Are communities ready?
This one looks relatively strong.
3 to 6 inches rain in Northern California, 2 to 4 through portions of Southern California.
Snowfall may be down in the lower 48, but it's setting records in Alaska. A rare January melt is creating must-see sights in Wisconsin.
And I saw this here and I said, I have to go check this out.
An ice storm takes a toll on the nation's leading hazelnut producers.
We had about an inch and a quarter of ice buildup on the trees.
Plus, why are the clouds so low below Mount Washington?
It's due to a temperature, or in this case, a cloud inversion.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. The atmospheric river we've been talking about for the past few days reaches the Pacific coast today, bringing flooding rains and powerful winds. This is what Granite Falls near Seattle looks like even before the heaviest rain arrives. Record-breaking warm temperatures and high mountain snowmelt are major factors in this rush of water. Rain from the atmospheric river could contribute to possible flooding. Meteorologist Brian Vandegraff is tracking the storm this morning.
And a very good morning, meteorologist Brian Vandergraff tracking that Pineapple Express, which continues to bring tons of moisture to the west coast. You can see a slight risk of excessive rain through portions of California right into Oregon today. And then tomorrow, that heavy rain risk goes down to the LA area all the way down to San Diego. Want to show you the futurecast showing all these bands of hefty rain continue to pummel the west coast. In fact, by the time it's all said and done, 3 to 6 inches rain Northern California, 2 to 4 for portions of Southern California, intermountain snows as well.
And thanks, Brian. Communities all along the Pacific coast are preparing for the storm. Adelmi Ruiz is in Northern California with that part of the story.
High winds and flooding is nothing new to the North Coast. The National Weather Service says winds could go as high as 70 miles per hour into Wednesday morning.
So that kind of wind is strong and dangerous and can definitely lead to widespread power outages throughout the area, down trees, so really can impact people and travel.
The North Coast could also see heavy rains and possible flooding in the coming days.
This one looks relatively strong, though not really out of the normal for what we often get in the winter.
The city manager of Arcata says they have been preparing for the storm. The city has cleared their drainage areas and have city crews ready to help after hours.
Now, our goal here at the National Weather Desk is to always help you understand the why behind the weather. And that's why we've asked meteorologist John Gum to explain the science behind these atmospheric rivers.
So what exactly are atmospheric rivers? Well, you can think of these similar to a regular river that flows, but this is a river of moisture in the sky. Take, for instance, our atmospheric river here. It's the moisture, in this case, coming off the Pacific Ocean in a narrow corridor that flows from the ocean onto land. And as that moisture comes onto land, it hits the mountains, and that moist air rises up over the mountains. As the air rises, it cools, it condenses, and you get heavy rainfall to form. And if it's cold enough, heavy snowfall to form as well. And this river of moisture is super concentrated, so as it persists over and over, you can really see the amounts of rain and snow add up, leading to flooding and, of course, mudslides and other disastrous consequences. Atmospheric rivers, something that in particular in an El Nino winter can have major impacts across the western part of the United States.
And we have good news and bad news about California's snowpack. The good news is that it's way up from the start of the year, from 25% of historical average to 52% today. The bad news is that the snowpack is still half of normal, and that could be an issue for the state's water supply.
Even though the storms during January slightly helped out our snowpack, we're only about halfway of where we should be for this time of year. Most of the storms we've had this year have been on the warmer side, meaning that rain-snow transition line has been creeping up further and further.
By the end of the week, the atmospheric river could bring anywhere from 2 to 5 feet of snow to the Sierra Nevada mountains, so there is hope. The snowpack is essentially a 400-mile-long frozen reservoir that provides nearly 1/3 of California's water supply. There's no shortage of snow in Anchorage, Alaska. The city just topped 100 inches for the season, more than 8 feet. Anchorage has never seen so much snow this early in the year. Lauren Maxwell has more on how residents are making the best of it.
It didn't even look that deep, but this car was mightily stuck.
I'm trying to go right there.
A frustrated driver who got a helping hand
1, 2, 3.
and was finally able to go free. It's because Alaskans came together to help.
We don't really have any other choice. I'd hope somebody would do it for me too.
The weather for many people has been trying.
I hate it. I don't like it at all. The older I get, the more I hate it.
Still, most are taking it in stride.
People are happy, I guess, snowboarding and skiing. This is what they're waiting for.
When we asked this woman about the source of the deluge,
I don't know. I blame Charlie.
She pointed us to her neighbor, Charlie.
Susan, your neighbor, told us you caused this weather.
A good one.
Turns out Charlie is a good Samaritan who spent years helping neighbors clear their driveways.
I'm retired, so what else am I going to do? Sit on the couch and watch football?
Some people certainly would. In our search for everything snow, we wound up here. The mighty Snowzilla was still being photographed, but
I think he's looking a little sad.
He just needs a good brushing off.
It's that foot of snow we got last night. It didn't do him any favors.
Still, one of his creators
He's firm as can be.
was undaunted. We asked if the new snow might inspire a mate for Snowzilla. You could make two.
We could, yeah, and there's been questions about that. You know, does he have a girlfriend or something? You know?
There's enough snow to have a girlfriend, right?
Yeah, there is. But, you know, it's a lot of work.
In the plains of the Midwest, the story now is the unusual warmth. And with no Arctic air or snowstorms in the near future, this unusual pattern may stick around for a few days. Check out some of these temperatures. Minneapolis could hit 53 degrees today, shattering the old record high of 46. Duluth may approach 48 degrees, breaking a record set back in 1891. Kansas City will top 60 degrees, more than 20 degrees above normal. And it's the same story in Omaha, Nebraska, where the mercury will be up to 25 degrees above normal today. Meantime, the United Nations now confirms the heat record was set in Italy 2 years ago. The mercury hit 120 degrees. That's the hottest temperature ever recorded in Europe. It happened on August 11th, 2021, when temperatures were soaring across the continent. It shattered the old record by more than 1.5 degrees. And warm temperatures are leading to a lot of runoff from melting snow in Wisconsin. It's creating unusual sights. People are rushing to see before it's too late. Meteorologist Phil DeCastro has more.
Warm weather and tons of runoff from melting snow have turned the waterfall at Fonferrix Glen and the town of Ledgeview into a pounding torrent. Bower Creek snakes its way through Brown County, starting near the community of Shirley, eventually meeting up at the East River in Bellevue near Wisey Park. But along the way, its waters hurtle off the edge of the rocks at Fonferrix Glen, and Tim Mayer had the day off and came up from Sheboygan just to check it out.
This is my first time here. It's just beautiful. I picked up All Trails app just recently, and I was going through it, and I saw this here, and I said I have to go check this out. So I'm coming back, hopefully on a sunny day, which would be great.
After nearly freezing solid earlier this month, there isn't much ice left there, nor is there much left about 15 minutes to the north in the town of Scott at Wequiok Falls. Runoff has also turned Wequiok Creek into a torrent as it tumbles down the falls. Originating just off Van Ness Road in the town of Humboldt, the creek eventually drains into the bay at Point Au Sable. Justin Norquist came up from Oshkosh just to do some exploring with his daughter.
Normally it's, February, March that they start flowing good, but we've had all this warm weather lately.
Were you hoping to see them like frozen solid, or were you really hoping to see the waterfalls going?
I was kind of hoping to get her up behind it. That's why we took the walk down, but it was definitely over my boots, so I was like, I definitely can't do this.
Gotcha, I got it.
And NASA's retired space shuttle Endeavour now has a new forever home. A massive crane moved the orbiter into place at the California Science Center. The Samuel Ocean Air and Space Center is being built around the 122-foot tall shuttle. Endeavour flew 25 missions over roughly 20 years. Back in 2012, it hitched a ride on top of a 747 to get to California. About 100 other air and spacecraft will join Endeavour when the $400 million facility is complete. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how a recent ice storm decimated portions of Oregon's hazelnut crop. Plus, we'll help you better understand temperature inversions.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. Temps will top on the 30s and low 40s this afternoon with a mixture of sun and clouds. Here we are this morning. Temps are generally running in the 20s and 30s. Now afternoon highs look seasonable. Again, 30s to near 40s should do it. Skies will be brightest through parts of New England. There'll be more clouds back into New York and through portions of northern New Jersey. Our greatest chance for a few snow showers on Thursday will be in northern New England. Outside of that, look for a mainly cloudy day.
I'm meteorologist Amy Aronson, and here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. We're looking at a cloudy day ahead of us with temperatures actually ending up near normal and in the mid and upper 40s. We are looking actually at a warming trend as we head through the end of the week. But first, we've got to get through a cloudy day on Wednesday. A couple of sprinkles possible in the morning. Otherwise, it's pretty much rain and snow free. And that trend will continue as we head into your Thursday. We'll actually say goodbye to the clouds and hello to the sunshine at that point. And that's the scene here.
I'm CBS 12 meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Another cool day ahead of us as a weak front moves through the area. We have 50s in Birmingham and Atlanta, 60s along the Panhandle and Gulf Coast beaches, low 70s, 72 in Orlando for most of central and southern Florida. We see very low rain chances throughout the day. An isolated shower is possible along that weak frontal boundary moving through the Florida peninsula, but for the most part, we have clear conditions today.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Temperatures may be warmer than average in Wisconsin, but it appeared there was enough ice to support ice boaters on Lake Winnebago. Recent snowfall painted this postcard perfect image in Pennsylvania, and this halo around the sunshine can also form around the moon. It happens when cirrus clouds are present and light refracts off ice crystals in the clouds.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
An ice storm earlier this month took a toll on local hazelnut farmers, and that's a big deal because they supply 99% of the hazelnuts in the United States. Allison Gutleber spoke with a hazelnut farmer to find out how his trees were impacted.
Over here we got 1, 2, 3, 4 trees that are completely flattened. Nothing left of them.
I spoke with Jane Rudell, owner of Rudell Farms, about what causes hazelnut trees significant damage.
We had about an inch and a quarter of ice buildup on the trees, and that creates a big issue. Even a short time with that amount of ice on is an issue, but we had prolonged ice where it was there for 3 or 4 days, and that makes things even worse.
Rudell says he has 400 acres drastically affected by the ice. It will be a long process to clean up.
Obviously split in, you could say 4 different pieces. Where to go with this? I'm not sure. I know that a couple of them are going to have to be cut off, and we're going to probably try to bolt a couple of them back together.
Now, Rudell is faced with the decision. You can remove trees and replant, which could take several years to start producing hazelnuts again, or try to save the yield.
The only thing that will save your yield is if you bolt them back together or zip tie them back together or put a bunch of tree paint on there for open wounds and just hope that they survive.
Although that saves the yield, it can have future impacts.
The problem with that is you kind of have an open wound to the tree, and then you can get disease, you can get bugs, and you don't know if you're going to get disease or bugs for years later.
Rudell told me if he were to take out every tree that was split, he would have to replant 30 to 40% of his trees, an expensive proposition.
It's hard to tell what the right decision is. You know, the cost of planting and the cost of taking trees out is high.
Rudell says in 9 months he will be harvesting the crops and hoping the hazelnut market and Mother Nature give him a break.
Well, all the big shifts in temperatures recently mean potholes are becoming a big problem across the country. Stephanie Joseph spoke to one New York auto shop about things you can do to minimize the damage to your car.
The New York State Department of Transportation outfilling potholes on West Henrietta Road Monday evening. The deep ridges appearing more often after this season's cold, wintry weather.
I'm ducking, dodging, swerving potholes. They're really bad.
Well, I do a lot of gig work, like Uber and Lyft and all that stuff, so I drive a couple hundred miles a day on these roads, and it's pretty rough, especially since the last couple of storms.
And those potholes can cause major damage to cars.
But I had actually a cracked rim from a couple of bad potholes that I hit. And they're, you know, normal potholes, you kind of do over them, but a lot of potholes around here literally just shakes the whole frame of the car.
Jack Webster at Lewis General Tires says repairs and tire replacements can be costly.
People don't even consider the amount of damage that can be done suspension-wise. That can range anywhere from a couple $100s to a couple $1,000. Even one little minor pothole can throw the alignment out. And people don't realize when your alignment's out, you're not only your alignment's out, they can really eat at your tires too, cause uneven wear, premature wear, and again just really ends up costing them so much money.
He says the best thing drivers can do to protect their cars is to keep an eye out for potholes and avoid them if they can.
If you see them, just try your best to really not go over them. And if you do, we really do recommend you pull right over. You make sure the tires look good. Really take a good feel of the car. Make sure everything feels good. If something doesn't, go to your local mechanic as soon as possible.
In Wisconsin, sturgeon spearing season is less than 2 weeks away. But it's another mild weather week, and warning signs are starting to appear on parts of Lake Winnebago's eastern shoreline. Eric Peterson tells us why.
We have some samples we just cut out of the lake. There's 13.5 inches here. If you look close, you can see the water running out of it. And then we got a chunk here, good black ice out there we cut. There's 11 inches ice. When we took it out, though, you could see the air bubbles and the water coming out of there, too. So the ice is getting saturated.
Quinney Fishing Club Plowing Committee President Mark Ecker says the Monday morning sample is an example of the ice conditions along this section of Lake Winnebago's eastern shoreline. And that's not all.
There's open water like 3.5 miles off of Twilight Beach Road landing. And there's one like 3/4 mile off the Stockbridge Harbor. There's some up High Cliff, north of Farrell Springs. There's some everywhere north of here.
This sign greets those venturing onto Lake Winnebago at Quinney. Fishing Club member Jacob Schwefel says ice conditions here are far from ideal.
How dangerous is it out there?
Definitely walking out in snowmobiles not snowmobiles, but UTVs, no vehicles. We won't have any of our club trucks out there, and no bridges.
Fishing Club members say time is ticking. Sturgeon spearing season opens in less than 2 weeks.
There's definitely going to be people out there spearing, but it's not going to be as safe as other years.
Are guys going to be out there spearing or not?
I'm sure the dedicated ones will. The diehards will be out there with, hopefully not vehicles, but side-by-sides, or I'm sure some will even walk out.
Now check out these fantastic photos. They're from the top of New Hampshire's Mount Washington. If you look carefully, you'll see much of the white is not snow. It's cloud cover sitting below the summit. And meteorologist Emily Santum explains what's causing them to linger so low.
The reason why the clouds are stopping below the peaks of the mountains is due to a temperature, or in this case, a cloud inversion. The Mount Washington Observatory has been releasing pictures of the beautiful undercast of clouds on their social media accounts. So let's break down what a temperature inversion is. In a normal situation, the air temperature decreases with height, as it is much colder aloft than at ground level. When a temperature inversion occurs, the process is inverted. Cold air stays at the ground level and progressively warms as the altitude increases. On top of the inversion is a layer of air known as the cap. Typically, stable warm air aloft resides within the cap, and as air rises, it becomes cooler and can get stuck at that layer. Imagine it as a barrier that traps the clouds underneath it, which is why the clouds stop so abruptly in the horizontal matter in these photos. Now, temperature inversion can happen at any level in the atmosphere, and there are a few clues that you can watch out for. An inversion can occur before the sun sets and last until a few hours after the sun rises the very next day. The sky needs to be clear and dew levels need to be present as well. If they are too low, the inversion will only make the air colder in the morning hours. The wind also needs to be calm.
If you want to see more content like this, be sure to check us out on social media. You can find us on all your favorite platforms, including TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search the National Weather Desk. And as we head to break, we take in views of Lake Washington just outside Seattle.
Good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Things are warming up for us across the Midwest. We got some 60s on the way for the southern plains, and the Ohio Valley still cloudy and a little cool today, but temperatures will be warming up a little bit more for you. We got a couple of stray showers trying to sneak their way through Missouri and the St. Louis area later tomorrow. And as we roll on into your Friday, most of the area remaining dry for us, but otherwise temperatures running above normal for most of us.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. It's a little bit of a cool morning to start the day, particularly up in Amarillo. 37 degrees, 38 over into Little Rock. Everybody else sitting into the 40s and to the 50s. Cooler, drier air settles in. High pressure pulls in some clouds. Otherwise, just going to be another spring day out across the region. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia, and that's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Wednesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. The unusual warmth continues out west. Look at these readings all the way to Seattle and Portland, well into the mid to the upper 50s with some heavy rain at times around Puget Sound and the Willamette Valley. Salt Lake City, a balmy 56, Missoula at 45. We're back to 80 in Phoenix, a big area of high pressure keeping the Four Corners warm, and an atmospheric river soaking San Francisco today. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, Groundhog Day is Friday. Meteorologist Kristen Palacio tells us what's behind this tradition of trusting a rodent to predict our weather.
Is there any significance for Groundhog Day for you?
I think it just means if we're going to see more winter or if we're going to have an early spring.
No special way, just watch him to see if he comes out or stays in.
And do you happen to believe the predictions made by the groundhogs usually?
No, I don't. But it's a fun tradition.
While it may not be the most popular holiday, regional events happen across the country. Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania's ceremony is arguably the most well-known, with Punxsutawney Phil as their star pupil. The tradition traces back to German communities in Pennsylvania in the mid to late 1800s, but wasn't considered official until 1887. Even though the tradition is still very much alive in the 21st century, is the animal's forecast foretelling correct? When comparing different sources, Phil's accuracy ranges anywhere from 25 to 47%. We'll have to see what his prediction is this Friday in Gobbler's Knob.
If you want to hear even more about Groundhog's Day, check out our latest episode of Off the Radar. You can find it anywhere you get your podcasts. And thank you for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we'll bring you the latest on that atmospheric river impacting the West Coast, plus the surprising reason why iguanas have been falling from the trees in Florida. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Make it a great Wednesday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.